evening. I want to welcome everyone tonight. I am so happy to see you. It is such a treat to be back at Christ Lutheran Church and back in Washington, D.C. We have many things to celebrate tonight, and we are going to tell you about them throughout the concert. But the first thing that we're celebrating is Laura Colgate, the co-founder of Boulanger Initiative, is celebrating her 40th year of life. And a few years ago, we decided that any time a Boulanger Initiative co-founder turned 40, we would have a concert. So now it's Laura's turn for a celebratory concert. And we wanted to begin with the music of Nadia Boulanger, who is one of the namesakes of our organization. And we're bookending the program that way with the other namesake. But we're going to continue with a short piece also by Nadia Boulanger. And then we're going to come downstairs and tell you some more things and play some music. And it's going to be a wonderful celebratory evening. We're so happy that you're here with us. Thank you for bearing with us in our choreography of the room. As I mentioned earlier, we have many things to celebrate. This has been a wonderful few years for the Boulanger Initiative, and I'm going to invite Laura to say a few of the exciting things that have been happening.
So Boulanger Initiative turned 5 years old this year, which is very exciting. And 1 year ago, this past week, we launched our database of women by music composers publicly to the world, and have reached a lot of new heights through that, which we'll tell you some about later. We have done so many things around the country just in this last year and grown so much, but we are always happy to be back here with supporters that we know and love. And Joy and I have not played here in years, and it's such a homecoming for both of us. So we're so grateful to be here.
This is the place where Laura and I first played music together ever in the world, so it's really special for us to be back here. I wanted to say a little bit about the next piece we're going to play. We wanted to do at least one piece with the piano so that we could see you all. And this is a piece by Cécile Chaminade, who is a French composer from the end of the 1900s, end of the 1800s into the 1900s. And she was a phenomenal musician, composer, performer, entrepreneur, and I'll regale you with lots of tales about her afterwards if you'd like. But there's one thing that we found about this piece that we're going to play, and that was the dedication to Martin Marzyk. And so I wanted to see who that was. Martin Marzyk was the violin professor at the Paris Conservatory around the end of the 19th century. And I thought this must have been a friend of hers. This must have been some special inspiration or someone that really helped her in her career. And so I did a little digging on Martin Marzyk, and he was a very vocal advocate against women musicians. And what he went on record as saying in 1890 was, "Women in general will never excel in art, no matter what changes as to opportunity the world may offer them. They are not serious enough. Dress, vanity, adulation, beauty, most of all, sentiment prevent them. They are born to love and marry. They cannot sacrifice what is necessary for real art. Yet it is a question, yes, it is a question of the brain. Were the brain so constituted, the instincts would accompany." This was her response to Martin Marzyk. Gratitude to Martin Marzik for inspiring that fantastic piece. We want to go even farther back in time now and play the music of two Baroque composers. We have done a lot of music and focused on composers from all time periods, but the farther back in history we go, the harder it is to find and the more digging we need to do to find these composers. But we have done a lot of research recently in the Baroque era, and I'll let Laura tell you more about that.
Yeah, even any musicians coming out of conservatories and music schools, most of the time they can't name one woman composer, especially out of the Baroque era, because we're talking about like 1685 through 1750, that kind of time period. And it's so hard to find these resources, whether it's books or the actual music, the score itself, let alone recordings or ever hearing it on stage and performed. So this past January, we just released our first curriculum guide and activity supplement, and it is on Baroque-era women composers. And it focuses on 59 Baroque women composers and holds tons of information about all of them and all things Baroque-era and women poets and chefs and astronomers and you name it, it's in there. And it's really fun also. It's not just for students. It's a really fun read. And we have display samples here. If you want to flip through it and see afterwards, you can join us at the reception and you can see what we're talking about. Do you want to talk about the composers we're playing?
We're going to be upstairs for the rest of the next stretch here, so I wanted to just say a word about the composers from here. Elisabeth Jacques de la Guerre was a French composer who was born into a family of harpsichord makers. And her father was really equitable in teaching all of his children the trade and not just his son. So she learned to build harpsichords, to play harpsichords. She played the organ. She played keyboard instruments. She composed. And when she was in her teens, she was invited to play at the French royal court and caught the attention of the really important people. And when the court moved to Versailles, they took her with them as one of the court composers. So her style is really rich and florid, and a lot of composers that got to write for the royal court had instruments with a bigger range or access to more sounds. We get a lot of really interesting music from composers that had access to all of the royal instruments. And then we will go to Italy, to the music of Isabella Leonarda, and this is just a wonderful it has the feeling of being a multi-movement sonata, even though you'll hear it continuously, but just such a wonderful example of the florid Baroque writing for solo instruments that was happening at that time period. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a lot of fun to play. This next piece is, there's a long range of time periods in this program. We just went from Baroque, and the next piece was written in 2022 by somebody in this very room, Alexandra Gardner, who is a very dear friend. This piece was commissioned by Boulanger Initiative for the other co-founder's 40th birthday 2 years ago, in celebration of her life. And there's 4 movements of the piece, and each movement represents a decade of her life. The first movement is called Yoga Flow, and the instructions have us breathing before we start, and then using the breath and the timing of our breath to direct the whole movement and the timing of it. The second movement is called Bike Ride and does not need any explanation. You will know immediately when you hear it that it's a bike ride. The third movement is called Paris Market, and it's actually marked at the top strutting, which for this one here, I think it's perfect because she struts if you know her. And then the last movement is called Campfire Stars. And the two of us have had some pretty amazing bonfire chats throughout the years. But this is really fun because you all get to join us and participate and be a part of the last movement. And essentially, I hear people who already know what's happening. If you have house keys or car keys or some change in your pocket, that maybe get it out now before we start playing. So you're not part of a movement that you're not supposed to be a part of. But go dig those out. And before the last movement, I'm going to do this with my hand and make a little sign. And even if just 1 or 2 people are turned around in this direction and see me, then you'll know when you start hearing somebody else jingle their keys that it's time. But you are supposed to be stars. You are twinkling stars and signify that. So I'll do this right before the 4th movement, and then you can just start quietly jingling your keys. And if you feel us, getting warmer or softer, or you want to jingle louder or softer, it's totally up to you. And then we will finish the piece, and you should keep going until you feel like it's time to fade out. And again, it's totally up to you. This is part of your artistry, being a part of this piece. So this is your signal to start that starlight for all of us. And a huge thank you to Alex for writing this gorgeous piece for us. The more we play it, the more we love it.
We wanted to drop back into a little farther back into history for just a moment as a way to share some very exciting new facts and figures that we have from this one-year anniversary of our database of music composed by women.
Yeah, so I mentioned that last week was the one-year anniversary of the public launch of our database, and as of now, we have reached over 10,000 works in the database by non-living composers for people to go and find not just the composer, but where the music lives, the score lives, the manuscript lives, more about the composer, if there's a recording out there, if there's a video out there, all kinds of information about all the pieces. And also, we just reached 61 countries that have used this database, people from 61 countries, which is really kind of incredible to think about. Thank you. So this next piece is by Florence Price, and this is kind of one of those examples of it can be done. Back in the 20-teens, Florence Price's, one of her houses that she lived in when she was alive was going to be demolished. And they were going through everything inside and found a bunch of her manuscripts and pieces that had never been published. And they were discovered, and then they got engraved, and then they got published. And now they're being played and performed and recorded. And Florence Price is like on the lips of everybody now. All these orchestras are playing it. There have been multiple Grammy-winning recordings of her music. And she's come back into recognition. She was really renowned when she was alive and fell out of history like so many composers. And she has come back into the spotlight and well-deserved. Her music is absolutely glorious. And this next piece is called Adoration.
so excited to introduce this next piece and the next composer. I had to add a birthday commission to part of the birthday concert since Laura started that tradition. So this is a gift from the whole Boulanger Initiative family. So many people contributed to offer Laura this piece in honor of her 40th birthday. And the composer that I really wanted to work with for this is Julie Zhu. She's here with us tonight. She performed at one of our festivals a few years ago, and I was just really wanting to keep in touch and was so impressed with the way that she worked with different instruments and wrote for different instruments and explores sound, and I just thought this would be a really wonderful collaboration. So I'm really delighted that Julie can be here for this, and I'm going to invite her to share a little bit about the piece.
Thanks, Joy and Laura. They're amazing, aren't they? So this next piece is called The Margin Declares, and it's from a poem in your program on the back about kind of a moment of responding to a moment. And this piece is about friendship and responding to an idea. And what I did was I took a recording of one clap and I stretched it to 6 hours. And so if you can think about that, in a clap, there are so many frequencies and harmonies, and then when you tease them out, you can really hear the individual frequencies undulating. And for me, that's how BI, Boulanger Initiative, started. It's just an idea between two friends, and any great project starts with an idea at that moment. And so thank you so much, Joy and Laura. And I'll actually be playing with them, sort of, and Joy will explain how.
So we've added Julie to the program because this historically was a really important role, the role of the registrant, and they never got recognized. And since I've had to do this and not be recognized, I wanted to recognize Julie's work. So historically, organs didn't have electric action to change the stops, and you would have an assistant on either side changing all of the stops for you. And because this is really part of the piece, and there are so many different ways that the sound changes, Julie is filling that role of changing the sounds while I'm holding chords. So you'll see her doing a lot of work up here as well. She's really the third performer in this trio. So that is the role of the registrant. And we are so delighted to play for the very first time, The Margin Declares. Thank you so much. Thank you, Julie. Happy birthday, Laura. Thank you to everyone who offered this gift to Laura. We wanted to finish with a piece by Lily Boulanger, the other half of the namesake of this organization. And we want to thank you all so much for being here tonight. A big thank you to Pastor Renata, to the Minister of Music, Eric Madsen, for welcoming us to this space, and to the whole CLC community. I'm so grateful to all of you for all of the musical support over the years, and it's so wonderful to be here. Few more words of thanks.
So, probably know by now, because we're a long way through March, it is Women's History Month, and it is also our annual fundraising campaign. And we are so fortunate to have a $7,500 matching gift from Ann and Al Ledbetter, who are here with us and have always been a huge support for BI. So thank you to both of you. It really is an incredible gift. If you have the means to donate, even maybe $40 in celebration of my 40th, we have QR codes on some stands back there and in the back, and we have a lot of other things back there too at the reception. We've got a wine and cheese reception and some merchandise and the curriculum guides I was talking about, and of course us. We would love to talk to you and chat with you after the concert, so please join us afterwards. It's just back right this way. Follow the crowd, you'll find it. Thank you so much for being here with us and for supporting BI and for supporting us individually, and being here to celebrate us with us tonight.
Thank you so much. Please join us at the reception.